The past few months in the gaming space has been kinda wild. Actually, we're probably looking at the last year. It's been a wild time to be a gamer. For all the wrong reasons. We've got games with production budgets, the likes of which we've never seen before, that are flopping on a massive scale. These games are also most of the time a decline in quality. So what does the gaming industry do with its higher budget, lower quality games? They charge more for them. Oh, but we're not done there. One of the biggest gaming studios of all time, if not the biggest, has now been caught committing plagiarism. Great job, Bungie. Great job. Which tells us there's another problem in the gaming industry. Incompetence. On top of all of that, trust between the industry and gamers is at an all-time low. All of these problems are going to combine into this chaotic nuclear mess that is going to explode, resulting in a crash in the gaming space. So, let's talk about it. 350 million. 300 million. 400 million. 200 million. Another 200 million. That's just a few of the flops over the last 2 years. Hold up. Let me get my glasses. Let's see if we can spot where this 400 million went. I don't see it, Sony. Sony, where did all the money go? Amazing. Yeah. No, that's 400 million well spent, Sony. That's crazy. The budgets of games have been going gradually up since gaming started. Games became more expensive to make. Apparently one of the reasons is graphic fidelity. Better the game looks contributes to the amount spent. So, what was Concord's excuse? Time in development also contributes to a higher budget because games usually take between 5 to 7 years to make now. So combine the amount of time it takes to make a game with the amount of staff there. That's a lot of wages to pay. Shadows has over 2 hours of credits, with over 3,000 people reported to have worked on that game. The amount of wages coming out is huge. Skilled professionals are apparently also part of that wage budget. I find that hard to believe, if I'm being honest. I see no skill in these games, or very little. But over the last 5 years, I'd say the budgets have escalated significantly. I think the COVID pandemic also played its part. Gaming in that time was at its peak in terms of players. People weren't working, but they were still getting paid. People had disposable income that they weren't spending on anything else. So people spent money on games. The gaming industry was probably one of the only industries in the world that turned a profit over COVID. RIP to all the small businesses who were trying to make something of themselves. If you ever wanted to see just how incompetent our governments are, just go back and watch the pandemic. It's crazy. Nevertheless, the gaming industry thrived, which I think played a massive part in publishers just throwing way more money at these studios. Hire more people, make it bigger, make it better. Try and keep all those new customers. Lock them in. We got 20 plus million sales on Valhalla. That's 20 million potential customers right there. You see, it hasn't quite worked out though, has it? With Ubisoft now actually referring to Valhalla's success as an outlier because of the pandemic. But that's not entirely true though, is it? It's not that unusual for a game to hit 20 plus million sales. I mean, I'm just pointing it out. It's not that unusual. For Ubisoft it is. This isn't just the AAA space either. We're seeing bigger budgets for AA games. Avowed is reported to have had a $70 million budget. I don't see them making that back. And no one is buying Game Pass to play that. Although for the most part, AA studios tend to spend their budget more wisely than AAA studios, and honestly, their games tend to be better too. But bigger budgets mean better, right? Right. Wrong. So wrong. All that money. Hundreds of millions spent, and what do we see? We see games with more bugs, crashes, terrible writing, visually unappealing. Basic game mechanics that we've seen in other games a million times. Unbalanced multiplayer that is filled to the brim with hackers and cheaters. Terrible performance. The decline in these games is sad to see. It's sad. I don't want worse games, but that's what we're getting. But why is that? There are so many reasons for the decline in quality. Incompetency from the top down. The CEOs for these massive companies, man. Pains me physically. EA CEO Andrew Wilson coming out and saying Dragon Age Veilguard's failure was due to lack of live service. Bro, what? How out of touch can you be with the industry that you work in? One quick YouTube search can tell you what's wrong with Veilguard. There's plenty of people trying to tell you what is wrong with that game. But herein lies the problem. Former Sony head Sean Layden responded to the Ghosts of Yotai backlash with, "If you don't like it, don't buy it." What? He's a former CEO, but I'm willing to bet that's how most of the gaming industry feel. They hate it when you criticize. So do some of the fans of those games, to be fair.
For the love of God! For the love of God!
They want you, no, they expect you to open up and swallow whatever trash that they produce. The AAA gaming industry is full of incompetence. Full of it. Lack of talent, lack of skill, lack of creativity, lack of leadership. No, I don't think this is the only problem, but let's talk about DEI. Hiring people not based on talent or skill, but hiring people based on what is represented the least in our gaming studio. That's not me saying if you're not white. Again, that's not me saying it. You're not skilled.
So you're saying that you admit, right? You're just saying that. So you're saying. So if you, is that what you're saying? You're saying you said. Well, you say. But you're saying.
Because I know some idiot out there will try and say that that's what I'm trying to say. It's not. So you're saying something that you actually didn't say? No. These are inclusion and diversity programs that these companies are receiving funds to do. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. And also, if they don't do them, they'll most likely receive a hit piece from some very nice game journalists out there. I don't think it's purely DEI. I just think it'd be dishonest of me not to bring it up when so many in the gaming commentary space avoid it completely. They avoid the topic. The argument for it is it's a system meant to prevent discrimination. What it actually is people hiring through discrimination, purely based on what it means visually for the company, how it all looks. Just because people identify differently or look differently doesn't guarantee diversity of ideas. And the idea that it does is stupid. Odds are the majority of the people working in these companies all think the same and have the same beliefs. I doubt there's many people walking around an LA-based studio with a MAGA hat on. I doubt that's happening very much, despite it being the majority vote in America. That's weird, man. Like, where's the diversity here, LA? Like, what's going on? If race doesn't matter, if gender doesn't matter, if religion doesn't matter, if what you identify as doesn't matter, and they accept everyone, stop asking for it in your applications. Just a thought that will result in many dislikes and many angry comments. But I mean, if everyone there is as skilled as you say they are, it shouldn't matter, right? They should just get in anyway. Do it then. Oh, it's not going anywhere. Despite some companies saying they won't do these programs anymore, it's been a thing for a while. They'll just change the name and keep doing it. However, I don't think DEI is the sole reason for incompetency in these game studios. I don't even think it's the biggest reason for incompetency in these game studios. It's just one of. No, I think the main reason is it's this little club and you ain't in it. They're hiring friends. They're all on Blue Sky, hanging out, looking out for each other, getting real cozy with game journalists. How many times are we going to see a game fail? But usually someone in that team, someone quite high up in that team, will fail upwards somehow. You got writers who worked on Veilguard now working on Ghosts of Yotai. How? How can anyone look at the quality of that game, any of it, and go, yes, we want you. We want you now. Whatever, have fun rewriting whatever they write, I guess. Building on that issue, they then have their activism issue, and it's a big issue. Because not only is it affecting the game they're making, whether that be the writing or character design, it's also affecting players' trust. I've talked about this before, so I'll be brief here. Players don't want to hear about your political ideology. No, they don't want to play as characters that try to represent and include everyone, but ultimately resonating with no one. Tired of it. I've said that a lot, but I am tired of it. And I mean any hint of it being in any game ever will just result in a lot of people just going, nah, not for me. The game will get shit on and it will become a meme. There is a difference between exploring progressive ideas, Star Trek, to outright stating that this is how you should think, and if you don't, then you are a terrible person. Veilguard. Gamers are just flat out not trusting anything that the gaming industry comes out with. It used to be distrust among the publishers. They're asking more money from us. Activision are screwing Bungie. No, Bungie are screwing Bungie. The gaming community is realising now that it's not the publishers always messing stuff up. They do, don't get me wrong, but it's also the game studios. I mean, Bungie is probably the scummiest game studio of them all, milking their players for all they're worth. And what was the Destiny players' reward for that? Bungie dividing their resources and making a new game, instead of giving Destiny players more content. I bet they got more skins to buy though, didn't they? And there is nothing that says incompetent like stealing someone else's artwork. Congrats, Bungie. And they follow this person on social media, by the way. The art director came out in a stream and said hundreds of artists worked on Marathon. He looked like he was being held at gunpoint for most of the stream. Hundreds? Really? You're telling me hundreds of artists worked on this game that just looks like Destiny threw up on it? If you're a Destiny player and you've ever wondered why there wasn't many new factions in the Destiny world, you got your answer. The art team sucks. Who are they hiring? Who? How are they getting into these positions? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, what you could do is just hire the artist you stole the art from. Why didn't you just do that? The art's good enough, but the person isn't? Is that it? Let me guess. They don't have an art degree. Is that the case? But what I do know is that Marathon is set to be Sony's next big failure. Add it to the list. We keep seeing these in trailers, you know, from the studio that brought you Halo, that brought you The Witcher. No, let's be real. You're the studio that has made nothing of note yet. Let's be honest. The people in charge now were likely junior developers 10 years ago and have politicked their way up the mountain and are now controlling the games. The Bungie team that made Halo is long gone. They're working on other things. We've already had a few of those trailers that say, from the developers that brought you Halo, Battlefield, Destiny, all of those. And I would bet on there being a ton more of those over the next 5 years. Because we found out that the talent is just bored. They're not getting promoted. They're not getting the opportunities to tell their stories in the AAA space. Which pisses me off. The talent is out there. They had it. These AAA studios, they had it. They had the talent. Expedition 33. The game director left because he was bored and he goes and makes a 33-person team, that's 2,967 less than the team that worked on Shadows, and makes what should be Game of the Year for $40 million. This is a team of people that I believe are mostly just straight out of university. They may have outsourced some stuff, but it is mainly the small team. Finding people on Reddit to write their stories. You know, trying to find actual talent to make their game, instead of putting up an application that says you must have this degree, that much experience and be this, and this. Like any of that means that the person is talented or creative. 40 million and it looks better, plays better, and has better writing. Has 30 hours worth of story with dozens more hours after you finish that. Of pure quality. Made by a 33-person team. Something is going terribly wrong in the AAA gaming space. They shouldn't be outshined by a small team like this. These AAA studios have become lazy, incompetent, talentless, corporatized, activism-infested shells of themselves. Want to be a writer for a AAA gaming studio? Well, you better have a degree. That most likely forced the creativity out of you when they lectured you about gender studies. And that is true, they do actually do that, I can tell you from experience. But the decline in quality isn't enough. Because they're overpaying in developing these trash games, guess who's got to pay more now? That's right, us. Yeah, you do. Now it looks like, thanks to Nintendo, America is now catching up with the UK, and I assume some other countries out there, who pay ridiculous amounts for games on release. So a AAA game over here in the UK costs about $92, $95. Ooh, yeah. It does. Yep, we've been paying more than even your new boosted prices are going to be. $69.99 has been the normal price of games in the UK for a while now. Since the next-gen consoles were released, I believe. They didn't even announce it. I got my PS5 release date, went to buy Demon's Souls, and it was $69.99. I was like, huh? It's a remake. And this is normal now. If you've got a PlayStation, that's the prices digitally. But get this, you can get it cheaper with your physical copies. That's right, physical is cheaper than digital. When we've been told for years now that the gaming industry wants to do away with discs because they cost too much to produce. Yet digital is more expensive. Bro. You don't hate them enough. I think with America experiencing the price increase, welcome to the party, by the way, we're gonna start to see games sell less. And I think the proof is already here. Look at Doom: The Dark Ages on Steam. It's a good game, but no one's buying it. It's $69.99, and that's going to be the normal price for everything. It's out of touch. Increasing the prices when people are struggling for money already is insane. You expect them to keep on paying more for a hobby? So let's take a look at the average person in the UK. Average income is $37,000. I don't think that's true, but we'll go with it. From that $37,000, the take-home pay after tax is $29,671. What the government does with that, who knows? I know it's not making the country any better. Now, the average monthly mortgage payment for a house in the UK is £1,441.36 a month. That's $17,296 a year. So let's say $12,375 is what you're left with after all of that. Let's take into account prices of cars, petrol, TV, groceries. This is before family even enters the equation. Yeah, 2 wages, but say you've got 2 kids, that's 2 more mouths to feed. Clothes, school, I assume this is all the same in the US, because I hear all about how the prices are insane over there. The prices of eggs, right? So after all of that comes out of your wages, you can then start looking at your hobbies, if you have any money left. A lot of people I know go into their overdrafts often. A £70 game just isn't on the cards for a lot of people. Most people. There are only a few games that I can think of that can get away with that, and that is FIFA, COD, and GTA. People will make sure that they can afford those games. But other franchises for the casual gamer, they'll see $69.99 and just go, nah. No one looks at Doom and goes, that's $69.99 worth of game right there. I don't buy into the length of the game equals more money philosophy, which I talked about before. A lot of the gaming community does buy into that, and that's fine, buy into it. If that's how you value your games, then that's how you value your games. Doom is just an FPS shooter. It's nothing special. Doesn't do anything more than that, and there's no multiplayer to add to the experience. If we look at Expedition 33, again, it's £44. I think this price has contributed a lot to Expedition 33's success, on top of it being a really good game. I saw a lot of people say that they played it on Game Pass and then they went and bought it on Steam because they wanted to support the creators. You see what making a good game and setting it at a reasonable price can do for you? Quite a lot. If it was more expensive, I doubt people would do that. You know, the irony is that Nintendo started this price hike in America, but they're one of the only companies that take conversion rates into account. Sony has been ripping us off for years, and we've just sat quietly and accepted it. All of these problems that we've discussed here are going to result in a gaming crash. A lot of people going to be out of jobs, a lot of studios closing down because the money trickles down. A publisher's heavy hitters making money is what allows these smaller games to be made. It gives them the opportunity to make these lower budget AA games. Without that money coming in, we're going to see a lot less of those games. The lack of accountability from the gaming industry and putting it on the customers is just... You don't hate them enough. They deserve all of this to blow up in their faces. I think we're going to see a lot of game companies belonging to Tencent in the next 10 years. Sony will be alright though. They'll just remake The Last of Us Part 1 again. You know? The only good part of The Last of Us. Maybe, just maybe when they're desperate enough, they'll do something with Bloodborne. Man, I don't know what the gaming industry is gonna look like in the next decade. I just know that this isn't sustainable. It just can't keep going on like this, man. Just try making good games and stop charging your customers more for the mistakes that you're making. Thanks for watching, boys. I was gonna talk about Alyssa Mercante today, but I went to write the script and I just thought, you know what? I don't care. I really don't care about her. And I don't think you want to listen to me roast her for 10 minutes. I don't think you want that, so I did this instead. See you in the next one, boys.